The housing market in 2021 was one for the books, my friends, and I'm going to be doing a two-part series. In this week's video, I'm going to talk to you about the housing market and my experience in 2021, and in next week's video, I'm going to talk to you about what the experts are predicting will happen to the market. So if you wanted to know my experience in the market in 2021, then this is the video for you, so stick around. Hey everyone, my name is Danae Hewitt and I'm your go-to DFW Realtor with Brico Realty Services. I help people buy and sell real estate here in the DFW area. And if that is you and you don't have an agent but you're looking for one here in the area, I would love to help you out. My contact information is in the description below. You can also find me on Instagram where I do a ton of real estate content on a daily basis. But let's get into this week's topic. The pickup of the housing market in 2021 really started to happen in the fall of 2020. So let's go back just a little bit. Well, we know in the spring of 2020, we had quarantine, we had lockdown, and a lot of buyers stopped looking for houses and sellers stopped selling their houses, obviously because they didn't want strangers in their houses. So the inventory really went down in the spring. But it started to pick up in the fall. As things opened up a little bit, we saw more houses hitting the market. And then what also happened is the mortgage interest rates were starting to go down. Well, people started picking up on these lower interest rates, so they wanted to take advantage. So buyers were out searching for properties again in the fall of 2020. Were they looking before? Of course they were, but a lot more came out in the fall of 2020. So during this time, interest rates were in the high 2s or the low 3s, which that has not happened for quite a few years. And those people that typically buy during the spring season and sell during the spring season, well, they didn't do that. And now all those springtime buyers obviously push back their plans to purchase in the fall. So you've got the combination of the springtime buyers coming to the fall, and then also those people that really weren't looking to buy or sell, but interest rates were lower, so they made that decision to do that. We started seeing multiple offers on properties, and we started seeing appraisal waivers. And if you don't know what an appraisal waiver is, then I've got that video right there for you. To track the data of actually how many more buyers were out there looking for homes, we can go to a national showing service called Showingtime. This is how buyers agents can set up online showings to go see properties. Now, I will say that not every brokerage uses Showingtime, and sometimes listing agents don't use it as well because it does cost money for a listing agent to use this program. But it is a nationwide program that the majority of agents do use. They're able to track the number of showings by regions, and it doesn't really break down any further like by state or by city, but overall by regions in the US. In the southern region where I am, showings in 2020 decreased by 33.6%. Well, those buyers came out looking for houses in October of 2020. Showings in October 2020 jumped to 56.5% versus where they were in October of 2019. And in October of 2021, it increased to another 4.9%. Well, how does this align with mortgage interest rates? According to Freddie Mac, interest rates were 2.83% in October of 2020, and in October of 2021, they were on average of 3.07%. That's a little bit of a recap of what happened at the tail end of 2020. And now let's get into quarter 1 and quarter 2 of 2021. To put it lightly, my brain exploded. I was so busy, and I'll tell you why. The showing index for January and February of 2021 increased by 46%. And where were those interest rates? According to Freddie Mac, they were in the high 2s. I'm going to put this in the description below, but I wanted to show you Freddie Mac stats of where interest rates have gone from the 1970s up to today. As you can see with this graph, interest rates are historically low, being in the high 2s. So you can see why so many people wanted to take advantage of that. Typically at the end of the year, a lot of people are not putting their homes on the market. Quarantine, pandemic or not. They just want to wait until the end of the year and after the holidays, and then they'll put their house on the market. Now, that's not always what happens, but of course it does happen. We're talking about January and February of 2021. Those sellers that typically would have put their house on the market, a lot of them weren't when it came to the beginning of 2021. But some people, of course, did. So combine that with the low interest rates and not as many homes on the market as we typically do see, it really caused a huge buying frenzy. There were so many more buyers out there than there were actually homes for sale, and more offers were being put on these houses, and very competitive offers were being put on these houses in order to get their offers accepted. As a listing agent, because we knew that we were in such a competitive market, I, along with a lot of other agents, were already putting in the private remarks of our MLS when the offer deadlines were due, and ideally what a seller wanted to see in an offer, because most likely we had 10, 20, 30 showings on a property. And can you imagine one agent picking up the phone 30 plus times from a buyer's agent wanting to know what would be the most competitive and appealing offer that their sellers would like to see? So all that information was actually already put into MLS, anticipating we're going to receive multiple offers. Your offer that you submit better be the highest and best, and here's the deadline. Homes were flying off the market like crazy in the first 2 quarters of 2021. Homes were getting offers the day that they hit the market. I even had a home listed and I received an offer 3 hours from hitting the market, and that person didn't even see the house. So buyer's agents were really having to educate their clients a lot during this time. And I was also a buyer's agent too. I was telling them that if you like this home, we have to put an offer in today. You don't have time to bring your parents by to see the house tomorrow, because most likely the deadline will already be tomorrow and we don't have the time for anyone else to come in the house. I was also educating my clients on what a competitive offer is and what types of offers were getting accepted by sellers. So things that a seller might typically pay for, absolutely not. The buyers were now going to be paying for it. That means the title policy transfer. That means a new survey on a house if it was needed. Buyers were not asking for home warranties. Buyers certainly were not asking for seller concessions. Buyers were also paying all of the HOA transfer fees if the home was in an HOA, but literally buyers were paying for absolutely everything just to get their offer accepted. Those are some of the terms of the contract, of course. Another part of the contract is how much time the seller has to stay in the house after closing. And we call that a leaseback. A lot of times before this crazy frenzy in the market, we were seeing, the seller could stay in the house 3 to 4 days after closing at no charge, because the seller does not own the house and they are renting the house from the new owners. And usually that 3 to 4 days would allow them time to pack up, clean, and move out of the house. Well, sellers were certainly taking advantage of this great seller's market, and they were asking for more time in the house. Well, typically, the longer you stay in the house after closing, you were actually going to be paying the buyers of the house, who are now the owners, you're going to be paying them a daily rental amount because, again, you're renting that house. But with this market, buyers were letting sellers stay in the house for 30 days, 60 days at absolutely no charge. But guess what? The buyer was being charged their mortgage, their interest rate. They're going to have to pay on the property taxes even when they didn't live in the house. But they were doing that just to appease these sellers and get their offer accepted. Now, let's talk about the sales price of the house. So we talked about all those terms, all those things that buyers were willing to pay for, and of course, the listing price of the house. They were not offering asking price. No. They were offering $5,000, $20,000, $50,000, $75,000 to $100,000, depending on the price point of the house, just to get their offer accepted. So of course, that means that the prices and the value of the homes were skyrocketing so high in 2021. And with that came appraisal waivers. If you have any questions about what an appraisal waiver is, I go through all of that in this video right here, so I don't really want to get into depth of that right now. But basically that means if an appraiser came into the house and it was listed for $200,000, but you're under contract for $250,000, but the appraiser says no, the home is only worth $200,000. Well, there's a $50,000 gap that needs to be paid for. Well, the buyers were actually paying for that gap. That means they were paying an extra $50,000 on top of whatever their down payment is and on top of their closing costs. So the buyers had all that extra cash to make up that appraisal waiver difference. During this time, buyers agents were showing so many properties and putting in so many offers, and they just weren't getting accepted. It's really tough to compete against 20 or 30 other offers on a property. Was I successful sometimes? Of course I was. Was I unsuccessful? Of course I was. It's just the nature of the game. And as a listing agent, we're also busy handling all of these offers that were coming in and giving all of those offers to our agents. It really just was a very hectic time in real estate. I don't think this stat is out there. I did some research and I think it would be a really tough stat to find out. But on average, how many offers were sellers seeing on their property? I mean, that would really mean that real estate agents would have to count all of their listings and count all the offers that they received and provide that correct data to somebody asking for the information. So again, really tough to see, but I did that for myself. And based on all the listings that I had last year and all the offers that I received, on average, my listings were seeing 6 offers on them. Some were more, some were less. So starting in the summertime and leading into the fall, this frenzy, it definitely slowed down a little bit. I remember I put a home on the market in July, and I was really surprised when it took 2 hours for my first showing to come in. If I had listed that house 3 months ago, I would have had 10 showings and an offer already. But things were slowly starting to die down, and a lot of that you can say it's summertime. People are on vacation, they've got their kids home with them, and typically things kind of slow down in the summer because people are going to take a break and restart their home search when the school year starts. Also, a lot of it that I've heard from other agents is something that we called buyer fatigue. That means buyers and their agents were out showing so many properties and were going to so many open houses and just not getting their offers accepted. And it's really tough. It's really tough for buyers when they really love a house and they want their offer accepted this time, please, 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 and it doesn't happen. Well, the buyers got burnt out. They were fatigued and they stopped. And they said, this is too crazy. I obviously can't compete in this market right now for whatever reason. So I'm gonna wait till things slow down just a little bit. And that definitely happened in the third and the fourth quarter of 2021. Also in these last 2 quarters, interest rates did go up as well. So there definitely is that correlation of buyer fatigue, not as many showings on houses, and the interest rates slowly creeping up to be over 3%. We were also seeing that maybe a home did receive multiple offers, but they weren't selling for crazy over list price. And maybe it took 7 days for a house to go under contract, which in the grand scheme of things, a week is not long at all. But when you compare that to what happened in the first 2 quarters, in the third quarter, if a house is on the market for 7 days, we were going, well, what's wrong with that house? There obviously must be something wrong with it. It should already be under contract by now. But that really wasn't the case. Again, interest rates kind of went up and buyers were taking a step back. And all of that will bring us into what the experts are predicting in the market in 2022, which will be next week's video. But I want to say to you, if you bought a house in 2021 and you got your offer accepted, I want to give you a huge congratulations. It was not easy for you. I'm sure it was not easy for your buyer's agent. So way to go, team, on getting a house. I did a lot of research in the video, and all of the stats and all of the links that I was talking about, I'm going to leave that in the description below. This video right here is next for you to look at, but stay tuned for next week's video where I finish out this 2-part series. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we will see you next week.